It's Michael from ePapery, back again. Sorry, I know that we haven't posted as regularly as we want to. Unfortunately, life is always getting in the way. My husband and I recently moved, and of course, you know how that is, getting everything in and settled. It takes a while, especially when you're our age. And Erin has been studying very hard for a big test that she needs to take for her other job. So she has been unavailable for, probably 3 weeks now because she's just really trying hard to pass this difficult test. So good thoughts for her. I think she takes it tomorrow. So let's hope that all goes well for her and she can get back to doing some crafting too. All right, so what I've got here today is just a variety of things that I use to make dangles. And I just thought, since I, have been making dangles recently, I would go through a few of the things to show you what I use, and then I would appreciate it if you have ideas, if you could comment. I'm sure we all could use a little more inspiration. So let's get started with what I have. Well, let's start over. I don't know where to start. Well, let's start over in this corner because these are the things that I was recently doing that I just showed you not too long ago. These are the little dangles that I made out of the aluminum cans with die cuts and whatnot. So I use those for dangles. Here's another one. And I add this one. I think I showed you my husband has a, I can't tell if you can see this very well. My husband has a set of alphabet that he can stamp into leather. Well, it also stamps into this aluminum too. So there's a tag that I just put journal on, and there's just a few beads there. So these are, like I said, the aluminum can ones that I was making the last time we got together. So those are a few of those. Then what I kind of got into a little bit was I had gotten some copper tape like this. You can see it, okay, and it's sticky on one side. So I decided that I wanted to play with that a little bit. I also have some silver that I've had for years. I wanted to play with that a little bit. So what I did is I took one of the embossing folders that I have and I embossed a piece of cardstock. I'm sorry, I didn't emboss it first. What I did, took a piece of cardstock, covered it in the tape, okay, and then ran it through the embossing machine. And I came up with these kind of grungy looking dangles that you can put on. Now you can add to these, which is why I've got this on my desk here. I have so many things that you could add to this. You could add beads, you could add a jewel, you could add lace, you could add a die cut, you could add a button. I mean, there's so many things you can add to these, so you can layer them up. But so that was another idea that I had for making a dangle. And this is a, belongs over there. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so then next here, I just have layered up a bunch of fabric like this. Okay. Now you could punch a hole in this and add a bulb pin to it if you wanted to do that. You could dress it up with some jewels, pearls, or whatever. You could add, again, beads or whatever else you may want to add to it and hang that as a jewel. So for example, and I'll show these in a minute, I like to salvage jewelry. Well, this is just a little leaf that was an earring. So I took the back off the earring, and hopefully, I don't know if you can see this, I'm just going to try and, I think I can poke a hole. Maybe I can't. Poke a hole through this with my, if I can't, then I'll have to go find my my hole puncher that will punch through metal. But anyway, you could add that there. Or if you have found some earrings that already have a place where you could put the bulb clip through, like here's one. This is a little butterfly. Well, its wings are open, so you could add a bulb pin to that. And I'll find a bulb pin here quickly. Since it already has a butterfly on it, we're just going to stick it through the hole that's in the butterfly there and stick it through the fabric. And again, you could add beads or even, you know, one of these metal things or a die cut, anything you'd like to that to make a dangle. So there's an example of using a piece of jewelry. So I have over here a few pieces of jewelry that I recently salvaged here, and I can show you these so that you have some idea. Okay, so now these already have like a little loop on them that you can put your bulb pin in, but these were earrings, so I just took them apart, and there you go. So you could use that. Here's another one that's a filigree piece that I think was on a necklace, I'm not sure, but there you go. You could add that to one if you wanted. Here's just a plain like grungy heart, and again I think that was part of an earring. And this one I think I must have bought at sometime, I don't know, but it's just a piece of metal and it's got a word on it. Now this one, I just found these earrings the other day. These were earrings and there was a stone in the middle here. Well, I didn't like the stone. It wasn't very pretty, so I just popped the stone out of there. And then what I did is I took a picture and I cut it down and I put it inside of the frame. And so now you have part of, you know, a dangle, and you could add ribbon or lace to that, anything that you would like to do. So take a look for earrings when you're out and about, something that might work for like on your dangles. So that was jewelry pieces that can go along with fabric, however you want to do with something with those. Now let's take a look at some die cuts. So these are actually these are not die cuts, these are punches, but they're floral punches, and these are the ones I use to make our paper flowers that I make in the shop. You know, just layer them up, and you can put a hole in one of the petals there and you can make a dangle. So here's one I had made, and that's just a flower with a jewel in the center, and it has stickles on it and a leaf, and that could be a dangle. Now, again, you can layer this up and add fabric or beads or buttons or whatever else you'd like to it. But there's an example of something you can use. So along with that die cuts, I have some tiny tags that I have a die cut for, and you can layer those things up. Here's a tiny tag that I had made. I recently bought a bunch of these brown ones that you can use, and you can use those as a background for a dangle. Here's a die cut that I have that's a button, so you can add that. Here are some more flowers that I had done that you could put a hole in and use on a dangle. Put those over there. This is just a, can't pick it up, there we go. This is just a book page that I had done some watercoloring on, and then I stamped on it. Now this is kind of flimsy at this point, but what I could do is back it with another piece of cardstock, or I could emboss it with some clear embossing powder, which would make it, a little sturdier. Put an eyelet or just poke a hole in it, and that could be part of a dangle. Okay. Here are some other things. This is just a ticket. And again, if you don't think it's sturdy enough, add to it. Put a little eyelet in it, and there you go. Now these are embossing folders that I have. They're small embossing folders, which I like because they fit in my small die cut machine. But now I was looking at these and thinking, these are really neat, but if you didn't want a big piece of this, you could take and cut out like just this number here and emboss it with some embossing powder or put some glossy accents over it and use it on a dangle. Same with this over here, or this wording here, or even the ticket part of it. And the same goes with this little bingo card that I have. I was thinking, well, you could just cut out all these little numbers and maybe add them to, say, one of those little tags. Just cut that number out and glue it to the tag, and then use that as a part of a dangle. So there's all kinds of things. Just have to let your imagination run wild, I guess. So here again is another small tag that I did. And again, I plan on adding a few more things, but I just took this brown tag that I have and took a die cut of the number 5 and glued it on there, and then I added a star. Okay. Here is something that I just tried out with the metal tape. I have these stamps that were on a pretty stiff piece of envelope. So I just cut one of them out, and I took my silver tape and I just cut a piece of tape that was just a tiny bit bigger than my stamp was, and then I folded that over the stamp to make a little frame kind of picture thing. Now again, you can add things to this. I like to add little beads to the bulb pin. Let me see if I can find some quick without making a whole bunch of racket. Oh, let's see. So these are just some little seed beads that I have, and they're kind of weird. I'm not sure what color they're supposed to be, but they look kind of silver, but then they also kind of look kind of gold. So, but these small seed beads like that will fit on a bulb pin. So I will take a couple of beads and add them to the bulb pin, and then stick my stamp on there and maybe add a few more. You know, and it would probably look nicer if I had used some colored ones, but anyway, there you go. So there is a dangle. Okay, that's made with a stamp. These beads are really tiny, so I'm gonna put them back in this container before I drop it and lose all of them. Okay, and other beads that you can use to make a dangle. Now this one has it has just chain, you know, from broken jewelry or salvaged jewelry, and then this piece here came off a piece of a fringe, so I just added it along with that. And again, you can add more things to that if you wanted to. So just so many things that you could do. Here's a crochet flower that I made. So it's kind of wonky. That might be why I have stick the pin through there. And you've got a flower in there. Now, if you want that to hang better, what you can do is you can add a jump ring to the flower, and then it will dangle better. So that's another idea. And then here is just a bead that I took off of a piece of jewelry, and I can just add that to anything I want as part of a dangle. So there you go. Now we have not only but we have the bead on it also. So here's another one that I did that has chain and beads on it, different colored beads that can be added. So that's beads and chains. This one is kind of odd because I know most of you don't have a husband that does leather work. However, my husband does, and he has some little stamps. And if you hit the stamp hard enough, it actually goes through the leather if it's fairly thin. And then if they weren't totally through, I would just cut around them, and then I have a little dangle. That's a mushroom. Here's a flower, a little leather flower. This is a leaf. And this is a rose. And then, of course, he has like initials that you could use. So that is another idea. Okay, moving on here. This is a fabric, pieces of fabric that I've layered up. That's all it is. It's just a little bit of fabric, layered up with some ribbon, like this. And usually what I would do with this then is I would use a ribbon crimp, which is what this is. If you can see that. It's an open piece of metal that you slip over the top of your ribbons, and then you crimp it down and it holds your ribbons together. Now, I can add to that also, and I can either include it with the crimp, or I can add it with a jump ring or a bulb pin, however I want to do that. So I have these little pieces of lace that I have cut off of larger pieces of lace. And yeah, so you can add those if you'd like to do that. So that's another idea, to add little pieces of lace that are actual elements to any of these. You could add, you know, this flower to this. You could add it to this one, or any of them. You could add that too. So that's another type of dangle. Oh, lost my leaf here. And here's another flower that you can just add to. Okay. Another unusual thing that I just discovered when I was making the aluminum can is that the tops off your soda cans, and all I did here was I just took the top and I glued a picture to the back of it, so it kind of makes a little frame. And then you could add a piece of chain to it, or, you know, however you wanted to do that. I just left a little bit of the frame open on the top. Of course, I can't see anything. So that I could put that through there, but I'm having a hard time. There we go. Having a hard time seeing. So, you know, put it on there like that. And then now you have an unusual looking dangle. So that's those. It's a way to use those. I have made some resin pieces, but unfortunately my UV lamp doesn't work. So at the moment I've not been able to do anything. But so I have, this one is, you probably can't see it, but it's a cameo. And, you know, this could be colored, and you could put a hole in that with a small drill and put that as a dangle. Buttons, as I mentioned, all kinds of buttons can be used. I got these little buttons from Amazon. They're really pretty. And you could, you know, put a piece of chain through the holes and then hang that on a dangle. I also got these butterflies. They're just plastic butterflies, but you could do the same thing with that and use that as a dangle. Here's just plain buttons, you know, tiny buttons. You could put a piece of thread through the holes to make it look more like a button if you wanted to. Here's a button that is shaped like a flower. Could use that. I have some very tiny buttons here that I use every once in a while. These are all very tiny ones. I mean, you could put jump rings in between these and make a tower of buttons, or a string of buttons that goes down, and then add that to a cluster. Those are very pretty. I enjoy doing them too. And a lot of times I will put thread through the holes to make them look more like buttons. Yeah. Okay, pieces of lace. We've kind of already talked about this kind of lace. You know, you can just put this together with a piece of fabric and jewels and whatever else you'd like to do, and you could make a dangle from that. This is a piece of lace that I don't even remember where I got it from, but I would just take a pair of scissors and cut it down however I thought I wanted it cut. There we go. And in this case, there is a flower there. So say maybe I want to just cut around that flower a little bit so you can kind of see that it looks more like a flower. Again, as I mentioned in my last video, I like, you know, fiddly, putsy things. So it never bothers me to do something like this where I'm cutting, and because I just think it's fun to figure out what you can do with a piece of lace that has some designs in it. I mean, you don't have to use the entire piece. So there's a flower. So I could, use that and dangle that with beads or whatever else. The last thing that I have is something I just started doing, and that is using, oh, what did I do with it? I think I put it away. Hang on just a second. And I started this when I lost my UV light, so I decided I needed to figure out some way of using the molds and whatnot that I have. So I ordered some of this super light clay. It's air dry clay. And then I used some of my molds and I put the clay in there, and then I let them dry. So for example, here is this is very lightweight. I mean, it's like there's nothing. And I made this frame, and then I cut out a piece of the paper that had some florals on it, and stuck it on there. Now you can poke a hole through very easily. It's just, so in fact I thought I had punched one in here, but I don't. Anyway, it goes through very easily. Just poke through it. And then again, if you wanted to add a jump ring to it, I don't know if I have a large enough one right now, but a jump ring through it, and then you could put a bulb pin or a chain or something on it, and you'd have something you could dangle. This is also lightweight enough that you can glue it to a page or something, and it's not going to, because it's so light. It's not even as heavy as like styrofoam. It's just very, very light. So I made that one, and then I made this one is another frame, and I painted these just with acrylic paint. You could color the clay, like blend in some. I think my daughter tried it, and she blended in a little bit of alcohol ink into the clay and mixed it up, and it colored beautifully. So there's that. This one I did. These are tiny little butterflies. I have a tiny little butterfly mold. And I think I punched a hole in one of these. Let me see. Yeah, I think I did. Right there. Again, it's very easy to punch a hole in. So using let's use a jump ring. Okay. I'm just going to open up. I need to get some bigger jump rings, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to open this jump ring up a little bit. Put that through the hole in the butterfly. Please tell me this is going to work. Very difficult to see. All right. Going to close up the jump ring, which I should have another pair of pliers, but I don't right now. There you go. Take your bulb pin. Put it through your jump ring. Oop. And there you have a dangle. And again, you could add something else to it, however, whatever you wanted to do to it. So there's another thing you can use to make. Also, I did forget about this. I took some like digital, I think these are one of Shabby Dabby Doodah circles, and I laminated it. So I could use this. I could punch a hole in that, either with my pokey tool or with a punch, and use that as a dangle on something. So that is what I have been doing, is making some dangles. Oh, speaking of the clay, I want to show you one other thing that I'm working on. And this is how they come out of the mold. Now these are really tiny, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see. This actually is a little bird, but you know, it comes out of the mold and you've got excess clay around it, but it cuts very easily. So you can just go around it and cut off the excess clay, and you've got whatever it is you decided you were going to make from the mold. And this happens to be a little bird. So but again, this is so lightweight that, you know, it's just very, very easy to work with. I know he's kind of hard to see, but there is your little bird. Oops. There you go. But I also ordered some molds that were, and now like these were like for cake decorating and whatnot, but I looked at these and I thought these could make great decorations for spines. I thought it was so cute. So you just, you know, you would cut around the excess of it and then glue it onto your spine after you've painted it, or you know, whatever you want to do with it. So I want to try one of these because it is, I did use a piece on a journal I made recently for a friend of mine. It was like a Queen Victoria journal, and I took a really elaborate floral like vine thing that I have, and I put that on there on the cover, and it you know, it's so lightweight that you know, you can't hardly even notice that it's there. It's just, and it glued on fine, and it was and I don't think, once this dries for a while now, I just did this afternoon, so but I think once it dries, it doesn't get hard. You can still, you know, it's still flexible. So when you're gluing it on something, you know, it will flex. But once it dries a little more, you know, I'm thinking, wouldn't that look cute on a spine of a journal? So I'll stay tuned to see how that works for me. With me, you never know what you're going to end up with, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And there were several different designs that came with this mold. So I thought that one was pretty. And then this one is, you know, scrolls and flowers, if you can see that. It's really pretty. And then there's two other smaller ones that are, you know, just, this one's just dots, and another simple, very simple design. So I'm going to try that and see how that works. I will let you know and come on and show you when I do that. So that's all I got for today. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you wouldn't mind, um, if you liked the video, if you would hit the like button and leave a comment. We would really appreciate some comments, and let me know things that you use to make dangles. I mean, there's a lot of people that will use the glossy accents and on a piece of cardboard, etc., and use that. There are so many things that can be done, but these are just a few that I use. So I'd appreciate knowing what are some of the things that you do that might inspire me. All right, we will see you again next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.